Every story leaves something behind, a whisper, a shadow. Welcome to the horror archives. Turn down the lights and step carefully, because once a story enters the horror archives, it never truly leaves.
The water stain on the ceiling was in a different spot than when I checked in. I know that sounds insane, but I'd been staring at it for 2 hours trying to fall asleep, and it had been directly above the nightstand. Now it was above the foot of the bed. This first story is called The Stain That Moved. It was sent in by a listener who was driving through New Mexico late at night and stopped at a roadside motel he can no longer find online. What starts as a minor oddity with a water-damaged ceiling becomes something he still can't explain. I was driving from Albuquerque to Flagstaff and stopped at a place called the Desert Crown Motor Lodge somewhere along the 40. One of those single-story motels where the doors all face the parking lot and the office has a blinking vacancy sign that hums so loud you can hear it from your room. The walls were thin stucco, painted a color that might have been peach 20 years ago. The carpet was this dark maroon that hid everything. The bedspread smelled like industrial detergent and cigarettes from a decade of guests who ignored the no smoking sign. I checked in around 11 at night. The clerk was a younger guy, maybe mid-20s, who barely looked up from his phone, handed me a key card and pointed left. Room 9. When I got inside, I did my usual sweep. I've traveled enough to have a routine. Check the sheets, check behind the shower curtain, check the locks. Everything seemed fine. The water stain on the ceiling was yellowish-brown, vaguely the shape of a kidney. I noticed it because it was right above the nightstand lamp, and I was lying there scrolling through my phone. Around 1 in the morning, I woke up to what I thought was a dripping sound. Not from the bathroom, from above me. I turned on the lamp and looked up. The stain was bigger, and it was now about 3 feet to the right of where it had been, directly over the bed. I told myself I was disoriented. I'd been half asleep. I probably just remembered it wrong, but I took a photo of it. I have a weird habit of documenting things that bother me, and I checked my camera roll. I had taken a photo of the room when I first walked in, just a wide shot I sent to my girlfriend to show her the vibe. In that photo, the stain was clearly above the nightstand, not the bed. I lay back down and tried to convince myself the ceiling had old water damage and maybe there was an active leak spreading it. That made sense, but then I heard the dripping again. Slow, irregular, and it wasn't water hitting the ceiling from above. It sounded like something wet shifting its weight. I pulled out my phone flashlight and pointed it straight up. The stain was darker now, almost brown-black at the center, and there was a hairline crack running through it that I swear hadn't been there before. As I watched, a single drop of something formed at the edge of the crack. It wasn't water. It was thicker, more amber. It hung there for a few seconds, and then dropped onto the bedspread about 6 inches from my arm. I got up, put on my shoes, grabbed my bag and went to the office. The clerk was gone. Lights were on, the little TV behind the counter was playing infomercials, but nobody was there. I rang the bell. Nothing. I waited 5 minutes and rang it again. I looked behind the counter, and there was a door to a back room that was slightly open. I called out and got no answer. I decided I was just going to drive the rest of the way. I went back to the room to grab my car keys, which I'd left on the nightstand. When I opened the door, the smell hit me first. Something organic and warm, like wet copper. My keys were where I'd left them, but the stain on the ceiling was now directly above the door, right above where I was standing, and it was dripping steadily. I grabbed the keys without looking up and walked to my car. As I pulled out of the lot, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The clerk was standing in the doorway of my room, just watching me leave. He hadn't been in the office. He hadn't been in the room when I went back in, but he was standing right there in the doorway, perfectly still, not waving, not calling out. I drove 3 hours to Flagstaff without stopping. I tried to find the Desert Crown Motor Lodge online the next day. I found one listing on a travel site with no photos, no reviews, and a phone number that went to a fax tone. I still have the photos on my phone. In the last one, the one I took right before I left, if you zoom in on the stain, there's a pattern in it. It looks like fingers pressed flat against the other side of the ceiling. And sometimes the most disturbing thing you can find in a motel room isn't something left behind by accident. It's something left there for you. Specifically, this next story is called The Bible with the List. A listener found a Gideon Bible in his nightstand drawer with dozens of names handwritten in the back. One of them was his. with today's date. There were names written in the back of the Gideon Bible in my motel room, 46 of them, and mine was already there. This was in late October, outside of Terre Haute, Indiana. I was on a work trip, auditing a warehouse for an insurance claim. The company had booked me a room at a place called the Crossroad Inn, one of those budget motels that probably changed ownership every few years, but never changed anything else. 2 floors, exterior corridors, a vending machine by the stairs that only had off-brand cola. My room was on the 2nd floor, room 214. The heater rattled when it kicked on, and the bathroom fan sounded like a small animal was trapped inside it. I found the Bible because I dropped my pen behind the nightstand and had to pull the drawer out. The Bible was in there, standard Gideon placement, but when I picked it up, it fell open to the back pages. Someone had written a list of names in blue ballpoint pen. Neat handwriting, each name on its own line. Some had dates next to them. I skimmed through them, mildly curious. Then I saw my name, my full legal name. First, middle, last, with today's date next to it. My blood went cold in a way I didn't think actually happened outside of books. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at it. My first thought was that someone at the company was messing with me. Maybe the warehouse guys knew which motel I was staying at and thought it would be funny. But my middle name isn't on any work documents. I don't use it. It's my grandfather's name, and it's unusual enough that you can't guess it. I went downstairs to the office. The woman at the desk was older, maybe late 60s, with reading glasses on a chain. I showed her the Bible and asked if she knew anything about it. She looked at the list of names and shook her head, said they get all kinds of weirdos writing in those things. She offered to swap it out for a fresh one. I asked her who had stayed in room 214 before me. She said she couldn't share guest information. I asked if the room had been cleaned that day. She said of course. I went back to the room. I took photos of every page with writing on it. I counted the names again, 46 including mine. Some of the dates went back years. The earliest I could find was 2011. They weren't evenly spaced. Sometimes there would be 3 in 1 month, then nothing for 6 months. No last names repeated. No pattern I could see. At around 10 that night, I heard a knock on my door. Not a normal knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I looked through the peephole. The corridor light was on, but the fisheye lens was smudged or scratched, and I couldn't make out anything clearly. Just a shape, someone standing there. I waited. They knocked again. Same rhythm. I didn't answer. After about 2 minutes, I heard footsteps moving away. I cracked the door open with the chain on and looked out. The corridor was empty, but on the concrete floor right outside my door, someone had set down a pen, blue ballpoint, the same kind used in the Bible. I closed the door, deadbolted it, and pushed the desk chair under the handle. I didn't sleep. Around 2 in the morning, I heard the door handle jiggle. Just once, a single slow turn attempt. Then nothing. I checked out at 6 a.m. The older woman wasn't there. A different clerk, a man I hadn't seen before, processed my checkout. I asked him how long he'd worked there. He said 8 years. I asked if he knew anything about names being written in the Bibles. He looked at me with this expression that I still think about. Not confused, not amused, resigned, like he'd heard the question before. He said sometimes guests leave strange things behind. And that was all. I drove to the warehouse and did my audit. That evening, I searched some of the names from the list. Most turned up nothing, but 3 of them matched missing persons reports. Different states, different years, all last seen while traveling. I reported it to the local police with the photos. I followed up twice. They said they looked into it, and the Bible had been disposed of during a routine cleaning. No further action was taken. The Crossroad Inn is still open. I checked last month. Room 214 is available for $49 a night. And this last story is the one that disturbed me the most out of everything submitted this month. It involves a motel in Southeast Texas, an adjoining room that was supposedly vacant, and phone footage that the listener recorded on his second night. He sent me the video. I'm not going to describe all of it, but I'll let him tell you what's on it. This one is called the Adjoining Door. The adjoining door between my room and the next one was unlocked from the other side, and someone had been opening it while I slept. I know this because I set up my phone to record on the second night, and I have the footage. I haven't shown it to anyone except the police, and they told me there was nothing actionable because no crime was technically committed in the video. But what's on it is the reason I don't stay in motels anymore. This was a Starlight Motor Court outside of Beaumont, Texas. I was relocating from Houston to Lake Charles for a pipeline job, and I needed a place for 3 nights while my apartment got set up. The motel was older but functional. 2-story cinder block building, exterior doors, a pool that was drained for the season. My room was 108, ground floor, end of the building. It had that specific motel smell, that mix of old carpet and air freshener that never quite covers it. The adjoining door was on the wall opposite the bathroom. It had a deadbolt on my side, which I locked the first night without thinking much about it. The first morning, I woke up and the deadbolt was unlocked. I assumed I'd been wrong about locking it. I turned it again and went to work. The second morning, same thing. The deadbolt was open. This time I was certain I'd locked it. I tested the door and it didn't open because the other side presumably had its own lock, but mine was definitely unlocked. That second night I propped my phone on the TV stand facing the adjoining door, plugged it in and set it to record. I locked the deadbolt, checked it twice, and went to bed around 11. I watched the footage the next morning. For the first hour, nothing. Just the dark room, the glow of the alarm clock, the sound of me breathing. At 12:47 a.m., there's a sound, a soft metallic click, the deadbolt turning. On the video, you can see it rotate, slowly, from the locked position to the unlocked position. From the other side, the door doesn't open right away. 7 minutes pass, then it opens inward into my room, maybe 8 inches. No light comes from the other side. It's completely dark in there too. And then a hand comes through the gap. Just a hand. It reaches around the door frame and stays there, fingers resting on the wall of my room, like someone testing whether it's safe. The hand stays there for over a minute. Then the door opens wider, maybe 2 feet, and a figure steps partially into my room. The phone camera isn't great in low light, but you can see enough. It's a man, average build. He's wearing what looks like a white undershirt and dark pants. He stands in the doorway for a long time. The timestamp shows almost 4 minutes. He's not moving. He's facing the bed, facing me. Then he walks into the room. He moves slowly, carefully, the way you move when you're trying not to wake someone. He walks to the side of the bed. He stands over me for 6 minutes. On the video, you can see his head tilt slightly, like he's studying me. At one point, his hand reaches down toward my face and stops about an inch away, just hovers there. Then he pulls it back. He walks to the nightstand and picks up my wallet. He doesn't take anything out of it. He opens it, looks at it, and puts it back down in the exact same position. Then he walks to my duffel bag on the floor, crouches down and goes through it. Again, he doesn't take anything. He just looks. He touches my clothes, my toiletries, my work boots. He picks up my ID badge and holds it close to his face. After about 12 minutes total in my room, he walks back through the adjoining door and closes it. The deadbolt doesn't relock. On the video, the time is 1:14 a.m. I slept through all of it. I packed my things in under 3 minutes. I went to the office and told the clerk someone had entered my room through the adjoining door. He said room 109 was vacant. He said it had been vacant all week. He pulled up the system and showed me. No guest assigned. I asked him to open 109 with me there. He agreed. We walked over and he unlocked the door. The room was dark. The beds were made. It looked unoccupied, but the adjoining door on their side was wide open, and on the nightstand, someone had laid out a set of items in a neat row. My work glove that had been in my duffel bag, a Polaroid photo of me sleeping, taken from roughly the angle where the man had been standing in the video, and a handwritten note on motel stationery that said, in very careful block letters, "Night 3 is when I introduce myself." That was supposed to be my 3rd night. The clerk called the police. They found no fingerprints, no evidence of forced entry on the exterior door of 109, and no footage from the motel's single security camera, which had been unplugged sometime during the previous day. The investigation went nowhere. I still have the video on a backup drive. I've watched it more times than I should. The part that I keep coming back to isn't the man standing over me. It's the moment he reaches toward my face and stops. Because when I zoom in, I can see his lips moving. He's whispering something, and I have no idea what it was.
And that's where tonight's file closes, but the archives are far from empty. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and join us as we uncover more horrors, mysteries, and true crimes hidden in the horror archives. Until next time, keep the lights low, keep listening, because you never know what story we'll uncover next.